Welcome back to You Are the Prize. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alexis. Alex brought his therapist
I brought
to
my
work.
therapist to work. Show and tell, if you will. Super thoughtful and heady, although we want to try and not be in our
We
heads.
want to be hearty.
We want to be hearty. Conversation about the power of now, about our old narratives and being stuck in those, and also the future narratives that we're writing, and how both of those take us out of being in the present moment.
Yeah, and the big question I think we're always trying to ask is what do you want? Mm-hmm. And there's actually a really surprising answer to that question. So jump right in with us.
And guess what? Not everybody needs therapy, or at least not the therapy that you're thinking. There could be many different ways. So it's a packed episode. Get ready, and we'll see you on the other side. I'm really excited because it's Bring Your Therapist to Work Day. And I have with me my therapist, Dr. Mark Tanabe. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for joining us. And oh God, if I could be a fly on the wall for all of my friends' therapy sessions,
Totally.
This is a dream. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that.
Why does he talk about me?
You would get a lot more than you bargained
never
for.
mind. Don't
What-
answer that.
Oh, looking into the conversation.
Just listening to,
No, I
sessions.
don't really want. I'm just curious. I'm nosy.
We could do highlights.
Yeah, but no, I don't want to know what you say about me.
I don't talk that much about you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That seems like good news.
No. I don't think so. I mean, I think I talk
Let's
about, obviously we're doing this, we've blown up
Yep.
our lives and that kind of stuff. But no, I think what we do talk about is the discoveries and the
Yeah.
growth that I think you and I both experience,
yeah.
and what that feels and looks like coming through our work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So,
please.
I just wanted to jump in and, start in how did you get to be a therapist?
Oh my goodness.
The most popular therapist of anyone I know.
Yeah.
That's definitely not true. But first, can we just say first time together in person?
Yeah, this is our first time meeting in person.
like literally
Yeah.
5 minutes ago
Yeah.
or 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's been, and so nice to be here. Thank you, Lex. How did I get to be a therapist?
Yeah.
By taking the most circuitous, winding, zigging, zagging, crash into myself over and over again route.
Mm-hmm.
And the short answer is I was getting on the freeway after many life chapters, and I turned, I think it was Jamboree, and I was about to start working with a commercial solar firm, and I knew I had to go back to school and get my doctorate in clinical psychology, which was news to me and really hellish because I sat on that news for 6 months because my wife, who's my beautiful, trusted, companion and bride, she, excuse me, we'd been through so much together already that I didn't want to put her through that if I didn't absolutely have to. And then it ended up just not going away. And
Just a feeling, a knowing that this was the path you needed to pursue.
I'd been in therapy for many years with my mentor, and she was the reference standard of a human being that I'd ever, by a long shot. And it must have come just very, I would call it an intuitive knowing that I wanted to bargain with, essentially, and try to avoid it. And then when I did do it, it was, 5 years of just the most intense chaos and raising kids, young kids, and not doing well in college at all. It took me 5.5 years to graduate. Not knowing what I was going to do after college. I would have bet $1 million, which is not a lot of money now, but at the time it was. I would have bet $1 million I would have never gone back to graduate to go get a higher degree. And I did. And pediatric neuropsych was a clinical training. LA Gay and Lesbian Center was what it was called at the time, where I met somebody.
Yeah.
Trained at the Wright Institute. Shout out to Michelle and everybody at the Wright Institute, because that was a fantastic experience. And then, excuse me, concurrently, I had been studying esoteric healing for a really long time. That was just an interest of mine. And I know that word's a little bit charged, but I don't think it's anything. It just talks about working with the energies and the forces within us, as opposed to, and it kind of outlines the difference between when I'm in my more true self versus when I'm a persona, I would say. And there's a lot that goes along with that. So I studied that for many years. And private practice, 16 years, going on 16 years since I started the journey, and 14 years of private practice. That's where we got here. That's how we got here.
When you were on that off ramp or on ramp, and you heard, felt, whatever, was that a surprise to you, or was that
I hadn't thought it.
So that was the first.
It was a holy
just
shit.
Yeah. And
Oh,
had
no.
you ever had a feeling like that before about anything?
Yeah, numerous times in my life.
Okay.
There's a through line through my life that I can remember it for, I was out in the wilderness right before I came here, so I had plenty of time to run feral. And there's moments that I can track in my life that were really key moments. And I think I haven't watched all of the episodes, but I think people talk about moments when they knew. I did watch the Jenny Clark episode, which was like done, right? Done. Why do I have to do this? She did it. But there was a knowing type of experience, and she knew very early on. It sounded like to me that kind of a good idea of who she was. But I felt like I was living two different tracks at the same time. One track was, how do I fit into a all white neighborhood, community, and not be able to do well in school, although I could kind of fake my way through it. And then I was also really kind of in my own space, knowing, but feeling bad about who I was inside, because it didn't match, or I couldn't figure out how to get those tracks to merge or be together. And so I was riding my bike. I was riding a BMX bike in the 3rd grade. And I was trying to ride it no hands through the cul-de-sac. So I'm trying to make this turn. And it was I'm putting it in adult words, but there was a sense that it's all going to be okay. And let me just preface this by saying I'll probably bawl a few times during this because I get, super flooded and emotional. But that's a thing I've come to realize for me, and just try to manage that a little bit in public spaces. So I was riding my bike. I had this moment where it's kind of only words I could put to it is like, it's all going to be okay. And then I say we. Everything kind of expanded into a space of, as my 3rd grade year old mind would think about it, I felt like, I've actually not talked about this with maybe, except for a couple people, I felt like we were all outposts of a consciousness.
In 3rd grade.
It was, yeah.
I mean, that's Ginny territory right
Yeah,
there.
I don't know,
exactly.
but see, then you just shove that away though,
Yeah.
And it was also because many of my friends, my best friend was a Christian, and there was a lot of, and I'd gone to church with him like once, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with this, because I'd only gone to Buddhist churches for like funeral services as well. So it was really confusing, and that was comforting for me. Then I was at UCSD, and there was a party under a bridge, a fraternity party of all things. And it was just an epic moment in a night where it was under the train tracks at Torrey Pines State Beach. And I was not the type that would be in the party, really. So I walked out towards the ocean, and the full moon was shining all over, and it was just magical. And again, I knew, for whatever reason, it just was like the air, for me, the way I describe it is the air becomes electric. It's almost like, you could like part the particles, but it's electric. And yeah, I knew. At the time, I processed it as I need to do something with my life. But now looking back on it, as I see how these things work, I think, I don't think, I know, I was just being supported. And so the ways that my life was zigging and zagging, because it was going to get really crazy for a while, I needed that, like support or connection, and that's what I constantly oriented towards. So I really started studying or reading a lot of self-help and spiritual material and stuff. But okay, now we should stop because I could just keep going.
No, it's
Yeah,
good. This is
This
great.
is the podcast.
This is the yeah. This is good.
You're like, we did it for
Well,
5
I'm
minutes.
having
we're
things
good.
come up for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I'm now remembering. I could piece it together.
Yeah.
My parents were born in internment camps during World War II. It's so good to be with you, Alex.
This is
It's
good
so
to be with you. I know. Yeah.
And you too, Lex. My parents were born in internment camps during World War II.
Wow.
And I think there's that intergenerational trauma piece that I've paid attention to as a psychologist. It was not a easy fit because I was this person that I am, and my family, extended family, I actually felt quite I was loved. I loved, we were a family, but at the same time, I was having a lot of things going on inside that there was tension and confusion. And so, oh gosh, it's like flooding in now. My dad had on his bookcase all kinds of books, which were great. I always would try to read them. Carlos Castaneda, Richard Bach. I mean, I'm dating myself here, but and all just really good stuff. But I'd always pull down a book and I couldn't read it because I just didn't understand it. And then one day I pulled down Jonathan Livingston Seagull because it was the smallest book, and there was no writing, not much. For I think probably a 12 or 13-year-old kid, it was like exactly what I needed in that time. And then I subsequently went through, over the years, a lot of his books, and it was great. So that's part of, I think, where it started, and I really appreciate and can see that if I ended up in this family with this setup, and even like your nails are rocking good. Is it Easter? Is it Easter?
What was for Coachella?
Nice.
But yeah, spring vibes.
ADHD to the max.
Yeah,
Right
yeah, yeah.
I think that if I can take it in this direction for a minute, one of the things that came out or has come up for me is that another kind of knowing or sensing is that a lot of the negatives and really pain points in my life, I was really bullied quite a bit when I was a kid, and being an outsider in a community but I was on the outskirts of LA, so we weren't in LA, we weren't cool. It was Valencia, and it was a small town at the time. But being adjacent to such a big cosmopolitan area, I was at least exposed to something really kind of that energy of, the LA basin and Hollywood and all of those things. So in some ways, I'm really grateful for all of the experiences I've had, because now it makes it for that in some way I feel like I can relate to people, and we can just. I work well with kids. I work well with people like what would we call ourselves? Neurocomplex and intersectional or something, and that's just a lot of fun. So I think I found the thing. And maybe we could pause there. I don't know. Any thoughts? Any questions? Like, where am I supposed to go with this?
No, you're fine. I mean, you showed up, so that's what you needed to do. I think as we have this podcast, we talk about You Are the Prize. The first step, I think, is acknowledging that something feels different or off, or that you're hearing something, or you're asking questions or wanting to go deeper. And so I think it's helpful to hear from you, from a therapist, what that looked like in their own personal life and journey, because it gives something for, I think, people to ground themselves in and to not look at you as, I think when we look at teachers and doctors and parents, they are a teacher, a doctor, and parent. We forget that they're people and that they bring to their jobs or the world a level of human experience. So I think it's good to just hear like what that felt like, what that sounded like. Was that a oh shit moment, or as you've shared through your life, you've had some of these moments where things have just like landed, or you've downloaded, or it's made sense. And so when this thought came that you needed to go to school, you were like, oh, okay, yeah.
I wasn't like that though.
Okay. So yeah, what was
That was an oh shit moment.
Okay.
It was, all of those to me are oh shit moments.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's unexpected and it drops in like that. Other times I've run something to the end, or at least in my own way, full force, full send, crash.
Yeah.
And then that's an oh shit moment too. But I'm beginning, or trying to, like I was saying, appreciate what those bring in the form of crisis and pain and processing through that. But you spoke to something earlier that I think's important to know, is that therapists are just people too, right? Let's pull back the curtains, and I would say, I say it this way with all the respect and love and appreciation in the world for people that do this job, because it's grueling and it can be really brutal at times, because you're sitting with people in great pain and suffering, and that's a privilege and an honor to be able to do that. But it takes a lot, or you can end up with a lot. But what I see, the way I would explain it is that, and no shade to therapists, okay? Please, let me just throw that out there. When I was in my program coming through, it was like my first moment where I realized, like, oh, we're all trying to figure out things about ourselves while we're going through school, and everybody's messy AF, right, to the max. And I was like, okay, this is... And I kind of had a little bit of a secret weapon, which was came back to school later in life. I had life experience. But at the same time, I call it when we dirt bike ride and you lose control. So your feet come off the pegs and you start flying off you're holding on as tight as you can. But the bars are doing this, and because you're falling off, you pull the throttle wider
Make it
open.
faster?
Yeah, in Nitro Circus terms, that would be called whiskey throttle. Elbows and armpits and whiskey throttle, those moments would happen. And I think that's where I gather it up, and what started as an oh shit moment, or like the worst nauseating fear and shame producing moment, you never know what it's going to look like on the other side, and you're just dying as you're going through it. But I've learned to be with the pain and the discomfort, the feelings, the fear, and relate to it maybe in a different way, is the way to say it. But I do want to say something too, because this is a couple of things about therapists and therapy. I hit the jackpot. Like, I met my therapist at 24. I didn't even know that I was going to therapy at the time. I was telling my chiropractor homeopath, who's now a friend of mine, about these dreams I was having. I was having all these dreams. He said, maybe you should go talk to this woman. And I said, sure, okay, that sounds good, please. I was, in it. And so I was sitting in her office. I think it was the second or third session. And I was finally looking around, and there were her diplomas and license and stuff was on the wall. I was like, holy shit, I'm in therapy. You're a therapist.
You got bamboozled into it.
Yeah. But from the moment I stepped in and started working with her, there was nowhere else I wanted to be. I couldn't wait to get back to the next week.
Yeah.
Not only because I was in pain and she was, such a, truly exceptional, soul and guide, but what it was doing for me as a, lost mid-20s, going way too fast kind of thing. And one of the things I wanted to say is that I happen to have a lot of people that come my direction and not great experiences in therapy sometimes, or it's just not working, or they've stayed a really long time. And I try to be really respectful of that because I can never know what happens in there, but at the same time, I just want to say, like, if it doesn't feel good, if it's not working well for you, or if you don't feel like you're getting what you need out of it, identify your needs in some way, or know that it's possible. And so the other thing I would say too is speak to your therapist like a real person and say what's on your mind. It's hard for me to even do that because there's a power differential, there's an authority complex that I would have, or also people pleasing, and I think, am I doing therapy right? Is this okay? All of that. And I really I can only do it like this, Alex. You know what I mean? Like, I can only do it. And I don't think I trained at a psychoanalytic institute. I'm the last person that's going to hold the frame in a way like that. And I'm sure there's other people that have trained and work similarly. But yeah, if it's not a good, I don't want to say good fit. If it's not really working actually quite well, I would first talk to your therapist about it and try to figure out why it's not working well.
It doesn't mean therapy is not working or not going to
No,
work.
because it's exactly that thing that happens in therapy with your therapist. May I, Alex, say? Okay.
Of course, yeah.
So there's this moment.
Here we go.
There's this moment. There's this moment. Okay, it used to happen a lot more than it did in the past. But Alex, there was Apple. I feel bad for Apple because in your like talks or whatever, I always try to have something good to say. I use an iPhone. I'm a Mac guy. I'm in the ecosystem. But there would be a time in the session where Alex would just kind of like, head would go down and, he'd just be super, super, he was over it. Just had it. From my perspective, I'm trying to hold that space with him and also wait patiently, expectantly, lovingly for something to show itself that is real, that I could work with, rather than come from a framework that I'm, running tape in my head of this is what I see, this is how I should work with that. And what I'm trying to say, I think, is that if you can allow yourself to have those moments like that, and to me that was a moment where I could just hold you in the space. And it decreased over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how that translates to exactly what we were talking about, but I just want to make everything okay in therapy. Like, first of all, though, side note, sometimes there's TMI.
Do you feel sometimes like people overshare? And is that a thing, oversharing in therapy?
It's not oversharing. Gosh, this is like breaking the fourth wall or something. Like we're talking about there's no right or wrong way to do therapy, in my opinion. It's only that it really is a relationship. It's a beautiful agreement or partnership. And so to have respect for each other is what's most important to me, and appreciation, because you're both in there trying to show up. So every person's different. And hey, I worked at the LA Gay and Lesbian Center for a year. I got super sexually harassed, by the way. That was like, it was flattering, but I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Also, there was times where I'm like, I'm not sure I need to know all of these details,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so if it's a trauma situation or just you don't have to censor necessarily. It's for me to be able to provide some kind of gentle, loving feedback to say like, hey, we don't have to spend all the time in that. We don't have to go so granular, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that kind of stuff, it's my job. I don't know how other therapists work with it, but some of that stuff really sticks with you.
Right.
And, I'm here for it if it's in service to the pain. But I don't need to be like along for the ride voyeuristically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone would benefit from therapy?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Say more.
Everybody processes differently. And I have so many different types of people that are wonderful and creative and talented and smart. So I get to see that, and I've learned so much only even in the last couple of years. I guess it depends. I guess one way I could say it is to reclassify what the definition of therapy is. Because the sit down, let's do this thing, not for everybody. And I work with a lot of people that would prefer to be online. And that's I was like, oh, what's happening? Is that bad? And, since COVID and everything went online, I watched how at first I had all of my own internal like conflict and, feeling like this is not the best situation. And I really had to figure out how to adjust and adapt to the new platform and medium. But slowly but surely, case in point, we just met today in person for the first time. How long has it been, Alex?
At least 3 years.
At least.
Probably
And
almost 4, I guess now.
yeah. And so it definitely gets done just in, different ways. Yeah. But everybody needing therapy is what kind of therapy is healing and nourishing, because I don't think everybody there has to be the right conditions, the right relationship to allow for somebody to feel safe and secure and seen. My mentor, her name is Uta, she would say to see, understand, and believe in someone. And that's just been the guiding principle the whole way. And I certainly benefited from that and felt that. And so if that's how you feel, I think you could begin to let down some of the boundaries or, walls that you've created and, little by little. And so therapy to me is at its best when it's very spontaneous than that. When it's best when it's really spontaneous and it suits the person really well. So for example, I'm just trying to think of a few. Play therapy, drama therapy, art therapy, music therapy, these are real therapies that, so some people are really intellectual and want to just go through it in an analytical way and understand and, we can get to that. And then other people, I've seen, just speak for myself, when I am needing to, let's say I get rattled and I'm running tight, sitting down and talking in therapy would be great. But that's not always available to me, right? So how do you, again, identify your needs, figure out how to get them met in a healthy, way, hopefully. And I have to go work with my hands. I have to go, I'm blessed and beyond belief. I can go get in the ocean. And just sometimes I know I just need my dogs, that sort of thing. So whatever's going to work best in the moment that you have available to you. And if that's, one of the things I had to do I learned to do that was really difficult for me was to reach out to people. I can think of a few moments where it was just, in the past I would have just sucked it up and gone, one of the terms I've been called is the lone wolf. And that's true. I think there's something to that. But being able to reach out, I had a friend that was going through something and it really brought up a lot. So I called another friend and I said, hey, and I hadn't done that before in that way. And it was just really, really good, really beautiful. And so, and it deepens the relationship, right? So then as we move through life together and our relationships continue to evolve and grow and, deepen, it's that's what's healing to me too.
Is there, everybody's different, everybody experiences life the same way, and so I don't want to, well, I'm just going to ask, is there I'm trying to get to when people start to question, who am I, what is this that I'm doing? And how that correlates.
Don't we do that all the time? I mean, I'm saying, I'm not trying to joke, but there, for the most part, there's sometimes where we're super locked in on purpose. Let's go. But every now and then, even then, you're like, is this, am I on it?
But I think to your point, is everyone asking themselves that question? Because it is a big question of like, it's purpose. What am I doing here? We are a meaning-making species. But there have been times in my life that I don't think I was thinking, what am I doing here?
No.
That I felt like came online for me later in life, where because I wasn't asking as many big questions. I kind of I wanted to be the good girl, or I knew the things that went along with doing those things, and that kept me really, let's call it occupied, of not asking the questions because I think I was fulfilling a role that I thought I was supposed to. And it wasn't until, I don't know the first time I was like, what am I doing here? And I think people often ask that question when they realize something's not working, which is probably lines up with some of the times people seek out therapy, where you're like, something's not working here. I'm not sure what, and I'm also not sure why.
Yeah. I mean, my first therapy experience was because I had gotten into an argument with my ex about Christmas wrapping paper, and I lost it. I had a break with. I recognized that my reaction was outsized and scary, and I didn't understand why. So I went to therapy for that. It wasn't necessarily because I was starting to question my value. You and I didn't have a conversation about values until I'd been into therapy for 8 years or so. So that was like, I was putting out little fires with my previous therapist versus zooming back and saying, well, actually, maybe these fires are starting because I'm living this life that I actually don't really want to live. And I'm just curious, how many people come to you with that kind of a knowing or sense of questioning, or how many people are coming because there's a behavioral issue and they haven't, what is that?
That's really hard to answer, but I could put both of your things together.
Okay.
I think.
Please.
Okay, let's meander, but I got to meander a little
Yeah,
bit.
we love a meander, yeah.
So, Lex, what specifically were you asking? You just went right. Alex tagged on to this thing. I'm blanking right now.
Of when people start asking themselves this bigger question, not everybody is asking themselves the big,
I remember.
why am I
Yeah.
here?
Okay.
What is my purpose?
Let me go
question.
with that first. One of the things that I see is that we're all so socially conditioned, and I think you're absolutely playing a role many times. You know, this persona develops, and you know, there's an algorithm. That's the word of the decade, maybe, to figure out gamify life so that I can
Succeed.
Yeah.
Whatever
go to
that
college.
means.
And what do I have to do to get into college? Okay, I'm going to do these extracurriculars and take my, you know, pre-SAT, all of these things, and then by the time I do this all the time with kids that I work with. I love working with my kids. They're supposed to know what they're going to do. They claim, you know, declare a major as they're getting out of high school. Sure. But so that to me is just one of those versions. And a long time ago, I said to parents, many of my parents, because my practice is full of twice exceptional, neurodivergent, neurocomplex people. And it was just so clear to me, even though it was terrible at times to have to say it to these parents, was that the way that college or the traditional route was set up, it wasn't going to work. I couldn't be sure of that, but I would say to them, like, maybe college is not something we should, you know, just one track mind it and force it all the way there. Let's open it up. And so the social conditioning is, if you just look around at everything you're supposed to do, I think, there's so many shoulds. And then you're wondering, and so I think you did it, what is coming up maybe is you did a really good job all the way. And then you got to some place and you're like,
This is it.
I did it all right.
Yeah.
I did it the way I was supposed to or told. And
Yeah.
I said it to Alex, like, you won the game.
Yeah. And this is the question I think a lot of people end up confronting in themselves is they won the game. They played by the rules.
I see it all the time.
They did all the things they were supposed to do. They even may have all of the trappings that you're supposed to have, the career, the partner,
Exactly.
the house, the kids, all the things. But inside their bodies, something is screaming, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've already brought up that Talking Head song of like, is this my house? You know, like my beautiful wife. Like you look around and you're like, wait a second, why doesn't it feel like I won the game if I won the game? And that's when I think a lot of
What
people.
game are you playing?
Right. Why are any of us playing any game at all?
Oh, now we're going to go there?
Now we're going to go there. Could you please answer that for us,
yeah.
Dr. Mark?
Well, maybe what occurred to me as you were saying that is when I said, what game are you playing? I want to say, like, you know, Lex, what game are you playing?
Currently?
I don't know. You could go meta or
No.
just give it to, you know, and again, I want to be mindful,
Yeah.
you know, of your process. So we can go as, this is not therapy, right?
I'm
But
open book, whatever.
But we
Yeah.
might as well, like,
Yeah.
I'm all for, you know, just keeping
Yeah.
it real
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to this
Yeah.
is just
Yeah, yeah,
packaged.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is where it's at.
That's why Alex brought you here today.
Yeah.
He's like, Lex needs therapy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
I am a therapist. I mean, I was just describing myself 2 minutes ago that I had all the things, you know, it's like I had the job, the title, the husband, the friends in San Francisco. Oh, I had all the things.
Check.
I checked all the boxes. And that is how I grew up. I wanted to succeed by everyone else's standards. I didn't even know that I could have my own standards. Not because I was necessarily being pressured. It was almost like it felt ingrained. It
Yeah.
felt, I remember one time as a child, like getting a bad grade on something and just losing it. And my mom was like, feels like you're overreacting. You know, it's like, it's not that I was being told I needed to show up in this way. I just kind of showed up this way. And then I was rewarded for it. And I liked being rewarded for it. That is the game I was playing, is I wanted to make everybody happy because I saw what the benefits were.
Yeah, a lot of good things come.
Totally.
A lot of goodies.
Yeah, one of the things I heard recently that like kind of made me cringe was that people pleasing is such a manipulation. And of course, who wants to think of themselves as being manipulative? But that is ultimately when you are doing what the people around you want you to do. And, it's like, well, it's because what you get out of it. You get their acceptance, you get their love, you get rewarded in some way because you've done what they wanted. And I have always been really good at reading a room, seeing what my partners needed, who they wanted me to be. And I actually, for a long time, thought that it was a strength of mine that I could shapeshift and that it didn't feel painful to me. I was like, I can be whoever they need me to be. And what would inevitably happen is I would grow to resent that person, because the story I told myself was, how dare they expect me to be this person? And yet they had never asked me to be this person. I just sniffed out what they wanted and then showed up as that person until I could no longer stomach it. And then I would have to exit the relationship. Because, and so that's the game I've been playing for a big part of my life, is reading and showing up in the way that will benefit me most, really, because I'm then getting what I want. I get the relationship I want. I get to be treated. And then it runs out.
Yeah, so that worked then. And new game?
New game, which has been really exciting, is I show up as who I am in so many more ways than I ever did before. And it gets real fun now in romantic relationships. Because I am saying who I am. I am exiting when I realize that I'm just not doing the shape shifting anymore. And it is so liberating.
So one way of saying that, at least in the taxonomy that I like to work with. You didn't want to say
lexicon because I get it.
Is you're unmasking.
Yeah.
You're being more authentic.
Yeah.
You're showing yourself.
Yeah.
Because what you were describing was so much code switching, right, and masking. It's exhausting. And then you don't feel seen. But you lose yourself in the process.
Yeah.
Right? You never even got to know the real you, what worked, what didn't, because you just cued in on everything to play it safe, really.
But it never felt safe. That's the thing. That's the biggest difference that I've noticed in romantic relationships, is that I had this insecurity when it's like I was showing up as exactly who they wanted me to be, but I never felt secure in the relationship because I was always afraid that if they would get a glimpse of who I really was, they wouldn't love me.
Okay.
And I thought, how long can I hold this together?
Okay, so this is going to be maybe the moment where I say, this is still the old game.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Once we understand our mental kind of map of how we work and operate, and that goes all the way to the past. If we keep mining that and describing it through that lens, we're never going to find the exit of the maze. And so I would say there's no way of actually finding, I don't know if this is true, but it feels like to me, there is no new game that is conceived through your mind. It has to be experiential. So by trying it out, I'm not going to hide this part of myself, or I'm going to be in touch with this thing that's uncomfortable, and I'm going to speak to it, or at least I'm going to name it and be with it. I think you'll naturally adjust the more that you get to know that part of yourself. The challenge is when it's a really ugly part of ourselves. We think it's ugly and awful. And anyway, I think that's why, at least I certainly did it for a very long time, where I would just mine my past for all of the reasons why I'm, hurt or broken or, stuck or not getting where I want to be, or, what's wrong and all of those things. And I'm not going to downplay that anything anybody's been through isn't profoundly impactful, But there comes a point where, at least in the conversation we're having, and Lex, what I think so I'm going to give you a behind the curtain
Please.
look
Oh, yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So there's a moment in a session, maybe with certain people, where their mouth is moving and I hear sound and words are coming out, and I'm like, but I've lost the thread. That is usually a signal to me that somebody's in their head and they're doing some version that's not fully connected, like heart and head embodied. And that was just one of those moments where I was like, oh, there's the sounds of Lex's voice and I want to follow. I should pay attention right now because I'm going to need an answer. And if I were to go along with that, which is why I stopped, I said like, hey, let's change the thing here. If I go along with that, then I'm complicit and I'm doing the same thing. We're just doing this projection dance, maybe.
Yeah.
So my work, or at least the way I see it, is I try to stay with myself and then allow for that time where I can say, hey, Lex, let's figure out together how to, shift the game. Maybe not even call it a game anymore. I don't know. That's like new territory.
Well, it's it's a narrative, right? And it's like
an old stinky coat that smells and
it's
has
hard
stains
to
and
it's hard to not reference a narrative that has driven your life for so long, even when you're saying I need to put that book down and move to a next, because then it's like, well, what was the prequel? Well, the prequel was this, and that's why I picked up this new book. It's like, no, I picked up this new book because I picked up this new book, and it's time for a new. Is that making any sense?
it makes total sense, but that's how I think the cat chases its tail. And okay, for whatever reason, it happens a lot when I'm driving, or I'm just using examples, life examples. Maybe it translates. I was on my way somewhere. I was on a mountain road making this. I can see it in my mind, and I realized that when I was essentially holding on to that pain as identity, I was just going back to that narrative, and I was feeling whatever, pissed off and resentful or like misunderstood, whatever. There was a moment where I realized that's just a cop-out at this point. I need to knock it off. That doesn't feel good anymore. And what do I do then if my habitual response is to constantly go back to my narrative and have a story about why I get to be hurt? And it did hurt. It was not fun. It brought up things in me that I don't want to feel, or I wish I was more seen or understood. But if I'm still doing my like inner seething, resentful, but then I'm kind and generous and people pleasing on the outside, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I don't know what we just did right there, but did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think it's evolving.
I'm asking myself included, everybody that is here for this kind of conversation, to just be really, really mindful of your thought life.
Yeah. Yeah, what I want to talk about is my favorite conversation that we ever had.
Bring it, let's go.
That really, I think, shook me out of the narrative that I was telling myself, which is victim, narcissist, and martyr, which were three really powerful words that I think just thrown out randomly are very triggering. But within the context of talking about narratives, when we had that conversation and you mirrored some things back to me, I realized how much that I was giving that narrative power, and I was just like strapped in the passenger seat and just going along with it, and thinking that was the only way that I could move through life was that life was against me, and I needed to hear that. I needed to hear those words, victim, martyr, and narcissist, for me to get fired up and be like, wait. And then realize, then I was gonna say, and then realize, like, that's not necessarily who I want to be, and that's not how I want to move through life, is, absentee through that. And I think that,
Dude,
that shocked
me too, man.
I think that was me realizing how much I was not taking control, and I was just floating through doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, and then I was upset and I was sad about this life that I didn't want to lead, but I have a nice apartment and I have a nice car and I can go on trips, and so it was just this weird feedback loop of.
Yeah. So first, I cringe every time you say you brought that up a couple times in the past, and I'm like, did I really say that all at once?
Yes.
And we didn't even know each other. We weren't even working together that long. It shows how comfortable, and hopefully,
I've told you many times.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing.
But I don't think it's often. I'm guessing it doesn't happen all that often that your therapist will call you out and say, victim, narcissist, and martyr all in one shot.
Well, just to clarify.
Yes.
Because as an outsider, I'm like, so were you saying that those are 3 roles that you were playing? Or those are basically if this narrative is true, you have to play one of these 3 roles?
The way I interpreted it was, if this narrative that you're communicating to me is true, then you have taken no responsibility for it or to get yourself out of it. And so, and it was shared in a loving way. I never felt like, I never got off the phone and felt like, well, who the fuck is this guy? It was very much a
mirror?
A mirror. You have the keys and you're not doing anything with it. And it was giving me back my power to say, I'm not just floating through life and things are happening to me. I have a say in how I want to live this life, and do I want to be working in corporate or doing X, Y, Z or da da da. It closed that book for me.
You couldn't unsee it after that?
I couldn't unsee it, and I couldn't not feel like it's up to me. It's incumbent on me to live the life I want to live. Nobody is going to come in and rescue me, no matter how much I pray or say I don't like this or whatever. Nothing is coming in to yank me out of it. And so I had to acknowledge that narrative, acknowledge those personas that I was playing, and say, you're not serving me, it's time to move on. And I think that really was the beginning of my, from having a meltdown about wrapping paper to then 8 years later, 9 years later, when we had that conversation, being like, oh, this is not on me, but I also get to play the active role in this.
Let's ground it, though, just so that people would understand. I think the way I would, first of all, I didn't remember saying that to you, so that came as a shock to me. I really had to look at that for a minute.
Yeah.
But I think what you're describing is just common, and it was my experience too. And take it back to the coat. It was cold, and you needed a coat because you were getting shelled by life as a, not black, not white, not this, that, all of these things.
Yeah.
So, and also what's modeled to us, right? That's the thing. It's how we grow up, who's our, people that model these things. So, put on the coat. It works. Look where it got you. And then similarly, you outgrow it, and the coat is out of style and it's gross now. How do you put that down, though? And so this gets to then what next? And then it'll come back as I say it's like the first thing that'll come up out of the basement when you're stressed, low energy, depleted, exhausted. There's too much going on, overwhelmed. Probably the first thing you're going to see is the usual suspects come out.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say watch your thought life. If you can control your thought life, which is the ultimate maybe control, then you can choose how you want to be in the world rather than everything's happening to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Locus of control comes inside.
That is powerful. It is hard. It is so hard to do that.
Well, that's why they call it. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, that's why they call it the work, and
It never ends.
It never ends.
Yeah.
I have a great example.
Yeah.
One is, okay, so you guys, I think everything's appropriate stage specific, whatever that happens to be. And it's definitely not linear. It's gonna, some things will show up midstream while the other thing's already going. So for example, one day Alex told me, oh, did you read this book, right? And I'm like, did I send that to you? And somebody else had recommended it. And I had known about it, but I didn't know the way that I was talking to you about things was parts work.
Oh, yeah.
That's another construct that works. But again, are you doing, okay, I'm going to get real, okay? One of the reasons why, Lex, while you were speaking to me right there, was hard for me to track or like lock into was because it was intellectual, right? It was an intellectual understanding of what's going on, and you're making sense. You're mapping your psyche, essentially, and putting in meaning to it. I think in some ways, the tool at the time that is best is what works, which is IFS or Janina Fisher and TIST, I think is what it's called. These are great for the right job. But what you guys are talking about is how to what? I guess that's a good question I would have, is when we're talking about it through, like, what's the new game? What do you want? What's next for you? It's so unique.
That's the big question. What do you want? I think that is the hardest answer to get to for some reason. And it should feel like freedom. If somebody's like, what do you want? You can orient your life in any way and run in that direction. But you first have to know what you're pointed at.
Do you?
I think so.
Why?
How do
Why?
you go after what you want if you don't know what it is?
Maybe
Do you just follow little steps of like, this feels good, go that way, and keep getting curious to approach the things that feel
But that would
right?
be so unlike you, right?
Unlike me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Both of you, maybe.
No, not now.
Weren't
Now
you just
I
saying,
am
though,
a
that you-
pleasure-seeking machine.
Right. Good. I was just saying, though, but there was a plan,
Yeah.
there was social conditioning, there was,
Yeah.
let's do this,
Yeah.
we're going to get all the way to the top of this,
Yeah.
and for the
Yeah.
win, but
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
So if that way doesn't work,
Yeah.
I would say it makes sense then. And that's why I said, well, isn't that how you do it?
Yeah.
But what about, and you said what, just try things and see what works?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because if you don't know what you want, you start saying, I don't want this, to what's in front of you or what you're actively experiencing.
You know what doesn't work.
You know what doesn't work.
Right.
And I think that whittling away starts to show a couple things that spark interest in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I might want that. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a weird, it's how you interpret and
How you even hear the
how
question,
you hear the question. Yeah.
I think influences the way that you would tackle the answer.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Well, now I'm at a place where I realize, like, I want to maximize my free time so I can have meaningful conversations,
Yeah.
meaningful experiences, and exchange knowledge. But that was after living a life of people pleasing and, you know, working a job that I thought I was supposed to have and having the car and buying the clothes. And then when those things didn't work anymore, didn't bring joy or moments of happiness, then I was like, oh my God, well, what do I actually want? And was able to strip out all those things, and then what I want came forward. But I don't think you can do that without that first question wrapping it, bringing the episode back to something feels off. This isn't right anymore. This doesn't.
Yeah.
So maybe the first thing you do is you start saying no to things.
Yeah.
You start saying, well, it's not this, it's not this.
Right.
It's like you start with the getting rid of
Yeah.
So
and seeing what you're
I
left
love this because these are the moments that I really enjoy, because now it's okay, let's try to figure this out. And you know, basically the old construct is like shaken enough where you're like, oh, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
with. Yep.
But I think that what do you want is a trick question, because it implies something in the future. Okay, and when we were talking about earlier about how we're referencing the past and identifying as, you know, this happened to me, and so I'm entitled to feel this way and think this way, and these people are bad for whatever reason. It's so divisive. It's so separative. It isolates you. It keeps us from being connected to each other. And, you know, I need to do a side note here. The one other episode that I saw was with the woman who was doing community work.
Emily, yeah.
Yeah, and what really stood out to me about that is that she made the decision to, or she even spoke to how hard it is to be in a relationship. That takes work. That takes courage. That takes, you know, not being comfortable and having to figure out something along the way. But that's what makes it rewarding and, you know, has a depth and substance to it. So just, yes, community, relationship, real contact, real people. But what was I saying about?
Go back to what do you want being a trick question.
Okay, so future and past,
Doesn't exist.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly,
Yeah.
let me just throw out a full, like, disclosure and caveat. I talk like I know shit. And
all do.
truthfully, it's going to be replaced by something more, hopefully, as long as we keep moving. So it's a partial truth.
Yeah.
At a
It's
partial,
absolute.
at a moment in time.
Yeah.
And so we're not static. We're not designed, I think, to be static. So what's true to me now, what I think I know now, is just going to get, you know, debunked. And some of it's going to, I'll look back probably and be like, yeah, that was okay. And the other's like, dude, what happened there? You just, you know, and those are those moments where you look back at like a picture of yourself. Like I have these pictures and my wife is like, you can never show that to anybody. I'm like, I know, it's terrible. But that's the shame, right? That's the part of self, like, awareness that we're like, ooh, I didn't like that part of myself. That's why we were masking. That's why we were learning to people please and do all of these things. So present moment, how do we do that? Yeah, and I noticed that I just took a breath. I could feel the tension that I had earlier, probably pre this, whatever this is, anxiety, wanting to, it just releases naturally. I can settle in, I can like own this amazing leather couch. This pop of bright red over here is so good. You're like, just take it in. Be here. It's not hard, okay, because this place is gorgeous. You know, the energy is so good, is what I'm saying. There's beauty, but the energy is really good. But I think it's possible to do it at any time, anywhere. I recently, just the other day, I was in a, I don't know, I don't think it's called, it might be called a convalescent home. It's such a heavy experience. But even so, and I could feel my like body and my energy impacted by but this is a natural process, or at least until we go, full, what do they call it? Longevity, escape velocity. These are people that have lived lives, and now, that developmental trajectory. And fortunately, the reason why I was there was to actually visit somebody that, prior to meeting Uta, there was another woman that I got to work with, and her name was Kathleen, and she was just radiant. And she actually, on her desk when I would go to see her, she had a picture of Mother Mira, and it said, "Love all, serve all." Anyway, I went to see her the other day, and I ended up with one of the most intimate, beautiful, touching moments for me. It was so meaningful, and was really, really hard as well, was to feed her because she couldn't, and I'm sorry if this is TMI or like breaking some kind of confidentiality actually, but I just want to be like, say like, those are the moments too where the beauty of it, the humanity of that moment was like, in some ways, so nourishing, even with all of the pain, or hard to see people in that state. Not actually, the relationship interaction I had with Kathleen is just incredible still.
Yeah.
But the whole vibe of the place, it can really do a number on you. So, kudos to the people too, that really, a lot of respect and gratitude and appreciation for people that can show up in ways like that too. One more just anecdote or story is, I was getting off the freeway at Hill, because I used to live on the other side in Pasadena. And I remember stopping at a light, and I always would take the left to go under the freeway and go along Orange Grove, because these were nice houses. And the houses along the freeway were not nice, like, not in good repair and stuff. And I stopped, and I looked over, I just happened to look over, and the way that the trash had blown off the freeway and up against the chain link fence somehow, I was like, wow. It was American Beauty moment. So I'm just saying, I think it's available at any time. We just have to shift to get into that space.
Yeah, being in the present.
And you can do it. Like, I can still hear that hum.
Yeah, yeah.
I can be in my body. I can be here. So you guys say, where do you feel that in your body?
Yeah.
Yes, but just, are you in your body?
Yeah. And I think a lot of times the answer is no, not really. I'm in my head a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're intellectualizing. We are thinking about that previous narrative. We are thinking about then the future, what that narrative is going to be, even if it's good intention, because I'm doing the work and I'm and it's like, actually, just taking the pause, sitting in the peace that is literally in this moment with each second is really, that's what I want.
One way I experience it is like connecting with each other, like for real, in our hearts and our minds. Because when it's a head conversation, sure, probably some brilliant shit gets said, but gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could do this endlessly.
Yeah, yeah.
But we cannot, unfortunately. We cannot. But we can be present with each other, and we can encourage everyone else to be present in this moment. Take a moment. Take more than a moment.
Yeah.
And think about, because I think the answer to the big question of like, what do you want, is to be here. If the closer you can get to that being your answer, right? Maybe. Just let me have this one. We got to close it out.
What was the question, or what was the confirmation we were looking for? Help me.
The best answer to what do you want is to be here. I want to be here. I want to be in my body. I want to be with these people. I want to hear these birds. I want to know that I am present. Right?
What would you say, Alex?
I mean, I would agree. I think there's pain in living in the past. I think there's anxiety from the unknown of the future, and I know that when I feel at peace, it is when I can hear the birds, when I can feel my blood pumping through my veins, when I can hear Remy snoring, when I can smell whatever those lilacs are, like that. And each of those moments is so beautiful in and of themselves that's enough. Like, that's enough.
That is it.
It can be absolutely overwhelming.
In the best way.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there is so much just in this moment, and I'm pulling from the past or thinking about the future versus just like absorbing the amazingness that is just, 1:45 and 33 seconds.
Yeah, I experience it like my heart is overflowing.
Yeah.
There's just it's so nourishing and there's so much love. And that's, if I were to say something to close, is that love is a healing force. It comes in all of these different, ways, but to really key in that love is a healing force, that even in a moment when we're in pain, if we hold that pain with love, it'll literally transmute it.
Yeah.
And we will, get through it together. And then, here, look what I did. I brought these. It's like almost as if we planned it.
Yeah.
Lex, try. Your choice.
I want this one.
Okay. Alex?
It's a heart.
Okay, so as maybe a token and reminder, are we in our heads? We want to blend head and heart. I would argue that it's way more important to stay in the head. Like, let's polarize much more into the heart as opposed to walk around, heads.
Yeah.
Because you'll do it. You'll learn. You learn how to integrate. I'm beginning to learn, and it feels, that is the game changer. Then you don't have to figure anything out, actually.
Yeah.
There's nothing to figure out.
Right. It's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game, turns out.
Did we do it?
We did it.
Right on.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for being
much.
on.
Thank you guys for having me. It was
Yeah.
great. Fun.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of You Are the Prize. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on another episode of You Are the Prize. Until next time, go do something that feels like you.
And we hope that means liking and subscribing. Find us on Instagram at youaretheprize_pod, on TikTok at youarethePrizePod, and you can find us on YouTube.
Don't forget to check out our other episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
This has been a Studio Stab production in collaboration with The Champ Effect. Original music by Scott Martin.